Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. I wanted to do a quick follow-up on the last video about the relationship between Russia and the United States. And I'm not sure I made myself kind of clear in terms of just where I was going, specifically in terms of comparing the Russia of the early 90s all the way up to about 2008 to the state of Russian military capability now in 2021. The United States was able to do a lot of what it did in terms of NATO expansion because of the military situation that existed up until, I would say, 2008, just prior to the military reforms inside of Russia. The United States could do things militarily and economically because Russia at the time simply, outside of the use of nuclear weapons, uh, could not prevent the United States from doing a lot of the things that it was doing in terms of the NATO expansion. We are living now in a completely different time period in terms of Russian capability. The Russian military that exists now in 2021 is nothing like the Russian military and economy that existed in the late 1990s and onward to 2008. Uh, under Putin, major reforms have taken place, and that would be both the organization of the current Russian military, the training, and the professionalism that has increased inside of the Russian military. And then two, the Russian military capability. While definitely still not in terms of technology up to some of the more significant powers in NATO, it has increased and closed the technology gap, so to speak. The technology gap that existed, the military professionalism gap that existed in the 90s and early 2000s was much wider than it is now. I would also say that in some cases, the Russian military is possibly more prepared than the United States right now. Not in all areas, but in some areas. The United States has gone through a period of where it has been engaged in multiple industrial strength insurgencies, such as Iraq, Afghanistan, and then it has conducted operations quite literally all over the world. An example of that would be, say, the B-1B bomber fleet. That 60 aircraft are reported to be active, but at times only 6 of those aircraft, 6, are capable of conducting combat operations. Now, granted, we could, meaning we, the United States, could get many more of those bombers into the air and active, but that is one example where that specific capability has degraded over a period of time, and because the United States has had to spend money in other places, we've seen some of those capabilities decline, and new capabilities have not yet been introduced. And again, if you look at the Russian Federation and the money that it is spending in terms of military capacity, the building of especially fourth plus generation aircraft, or even in some cases a few fifth generation aircraft, such as the Su-57. But I had shown an example on the thumbnail of the Su-34. Russia has 120 of those aircraft that are now active that can launch precision strikes against targets. That capability did not exist prior to 2008. There's a lot of capabilities that Russia now has that simply did not exist back in 2008. And I'm referring to such systems as the S-400. We're also seeing the S-500, but also the amount of systems that are operational, the upgrading of its main battle tanks, especially with more advanced reactive armor. And then the biggest issue would be like the thermal imaging optics that are being put on most of these vehicles now. That was something that Russia just did not have prior to 2008. And Russia has that capability to fight at night or even better in the day. That's what those thermal imaging optics give you. And that was something that Russia did not have prior to 2008 and all the way back. It does now. It has those same capabilities as many of these Western nations. So that's what I'm referring to in terms of Russian capability. The same capability, the capability that existed in the early 2000s into the 90s is not the same as what it is now. And that would cause significant issues if conflict arose between the United States and the Russian Federation.